everybody. Texas Deacon here. Thank you for joining me. Today's date is May 25th, 2015, Memorial Day. And I'm going to give a little talk that I have entitled, A Soldier's Untold Story. Ray Neal was born in Mount Vernon, Texas, grew up in Mount Vernon, and is buried in Mount Vernon. I helped carry him to his grave. Ray and I were very close friends for a number of years. Ray was a World War II veteran. He got in on the end of World War II, served in Korea, and was getting ready for Vietnam, and was sent to Hawaii. And he told them, if you send me to Hawaii, I'm going to retire. Because back in those days, the low pay a soldier got with a family in Hawaii was the kiss of financial death. They wouldn't budge. They were going to send him there, so he retired. So he missed Vietnam. Maybe that was good. Now, Neil had some cardiovascular problems that had haunted him for a long time, from early in his life. And Neil was in the hospital. So I went to visit him, and while he was there, he was telling me about a friend of his from the Korean War, and we're talking about we're in the 80s now, that had flown in from Florida the previous day, spent a day with him, and then flew back to Florida. You know, that's for an Army buddy for 30, 35 years ago. So I just casually asked Neil the man's name in case I would run into him, and I do not remember what he told me, the name, but I can make up a name that will have the same impact. He said his name is Abraham Goldman. I said, that's a Jew boy. Now, why is that important? Neil hated all Jews. He blamed the Jews for all the problems in the world. You couldn't rationalize with him at all. If you were a Jew, a Jewish name, or any connected with him, you were just nothing to him. And yet here, he was a lifelong friend with a Jew boy. So I said, Neil, you and him didn't have something going on that I don't want to know about, do you? He blushed and says, no. I said, well, then you got to tell me the story. He said, it was in Korea. Said he and I were sergeants, and we were in charge of a squad apiece. Now, in those days, what they called a colored soldier, they didn't trust them very much as soldiers, because in World War II, they mostly did support work. Anyway, so it was common when the Army was first integrated that a white man would always lead the black unit. Okay. They were out at night in an area that was borderline between North Korea and South Korea, and they were out on what you call a search and destroy mission, out looking for the enemy at night. Well, Neil took his squad and went one way, and the other man, the other sergeant, which I don't remember, took his squad and went another way. They had been separated sometimes when Neil said, heard all his gunfire over in the direction of the other squad. So I said, I went back to the last point that where we separated, and shortly thereafter, his soldiers, his colored soldiers, all showed up there. Where is Sergeant? Sergeant's dead. Everybody said, yeah, he's dead. He got killed. And The colored soldier in Korea had a word, bug out. As soon as the shooting started, they bugged out. Now, during World War II, the Tuskegee Airmen, they held their own. They were as good a flyers as this country had. And then in Vietnam, the black soldier earned his right among being as good a soldier this country can produce. But that was not the case in Korea. They had not put the black soldier in very many positions of responsibility. Anyway, he kept questioning them. Finally, one of them said, I think I heard him holler for help. So Neil found out as close as he could as to where the sergeant was, and he went back through the lines, crawling, he said, every now and then calling his name as loud as he could without saying it too loud. Finally, he found him. He had been shot in the leg and could not walk at all. So Neil picked him up and his equipment. They weren't going to leave it for the North Koreans. Carried him back to safety. And that's how they become friends, or that man felt like he did owe his life to Neil. And I was amazed at that story. And I said, what kind of medal you get for that action? He said, no medal, just all in a soldier's day's work. Now, there were probably a lot of Neil Rays. But this one, if anybody out there knows anybody in a high position that could check out the story I've told you, and I'm sure the record would tell you whether it was true or not, maybe it's not too late to get a medal for Neil Ray. He had 2 daughters and a son, and of course I lost contact with them after he died. Just a soldier story that had been told now. Texas Deacon, signing off.